Welcome to our fellowship for today's Sunday service. Glad to have all of you here with us in person and everyone who's watching virtually. Welcome to you as well, and we know that you're in spirit here with us, and we embrace you just as if you were here. This service today is going to be a little bit different. You may have already noticed that from your bulletin. So first off, I'm going to introduce our Reverend Sue Quinn. You're all wearing a beautiful heart that she felted herself. And today is a theme. It's a theme for our service today, Heart to Heart. So I'm going to have her introduce her idea about the theme.
Hi there, just some quick thoughts on what came about to inspire for this service, Heart to Heart. Thinking about how we are always connected, whether someone's here on this earth with us, together in person, or if they've left this earth and are on another plane. Or during COVID, if we don't have any contact, we're still connected, heart to heart. As I was driving over here, I thought of something that I would say to fifth graders, which would be, have a heart, give a heart, give a heart, have a heart, but none of you are in fifth grade. So what I wanted to say to you comes from John O'Donohue. Meister Eckhart identified a place within the soul that neither time, flesh, nor space can touch. This sacred temple is in every heart. He believed this to be the Monkline, the simple divine spark within us. And that spark, your own essence, and the essence of God are the one brightness, passion of the heart. So we are always connected, heart to heart.
Thank you, Sue. We're also so blessed to have Corey Williams with us, and I don't know how long ago it was that you sang this. I think I might have been in California because I wasn't here at the service that he introduced this song. But it's a revision of the Lord's Prayer, and I heard so many people comment about how beautiful it is. I asked Corey if he could make up a song sheet for us so that we could sing it regularly here at the fellowship on Sunday. Joyce was one of those who said, please, can we do that? So you should have the sheet on your chair, and I'd like to invite you all to stand, and we'll learn together how to sing this song.
Oh, we're actually going to do it.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
We were going to take it as homework.
I didn't know that it had been.
You can wait. So that is going to become a regular part of our service moving forward. Thank you so much, Corey. And now we're going to do our opening meditation. I'd like to invite you to close your eyes and just begin to relax your body. Let's take 2 deep breaths together, breathing in and out. And breathing in and out. And as we breathe in and out, on that out breath, just let all the stress flow out of your body and come into alignment with perfect love. Now I'd like to invite you to bring your mind down into your heart, down into a soft, open heart. You might want to put your hand on your heart just to hold that attention right there. With open hearts, we feel our way to compassionate oneness with all beings. And we know our every thought, our every intention, and every action combines with all others to profoundly impact our world. Our collective energy illuminates all hearts with love and wisdom, clarity and peace. grounded in unwavering trust and patience, we remember that there is always a bigger spiritual picture. And so we allow all things to unfold and develop in the perfect way, in the perfect time. We heed the late Congressman John Lewis's words. I say to you, walk with the wind, brothers and sisters, and let the spirit of peace and the power of everlasting love be your guide. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you. I added that last little quote from John Lewis because this coming Wednesday, the 21st, is International Peace Day. And I also want to remind everyone that the fellowship is an affiliate with the Peace Education Center. And in the e-announcements that you get each Tuesday, you will get information about the events. And there are lots of Peace Quest events still happening through October 2nd. So you can find them there. Please participate. It's a wonderful, wonderful program. Okay, we're going to sing another song. So please stand and turn to page 25. We're going to be singing It's in Every One of Us. And then we'll stay standing for our namaste. In your packets, in your little envelope, there's a connection card. And I'd like for you to pull that out if you would, and take a minute to think about on the back, there's a place for a prayer request. Since we're doing our tithes and offerings earlier in the service today, I'd like for you to pull that out and you just take a minute to think of someone, something, some situation that you would like for all of us to pray for today, and jot that on the card. And as our collection basket goes around, just drop that right in. As I said, things are a little out of order today.
It's my fault.
It's Linda's fault. It's for a good reason, so it's all good. So we're taking this moment now to stop and fill our hearts with gratitude for all of the blessings and abundance in our lives, all the gifts we enjoy. And we thank all of you for your generosity to the fellowship. It's because of you that we're here today, and that we'll be here tomorrow, and we'll be here moving into our 40th year. So hold your gift in consciousness. Maybe some of you give online, or maybe you're preparing your gift now. Hold it in consciousness as we say our blessing of the tithes and offerings. John will be around with the basket here. We're also sending these prayer requests onto our prayer connection team, so they'll continue to be prayed for into the weeks ahead. Let's say our blessing of the tithes and offerings together. The light of divine love shines eternally, blessing and multiplying our tithes and offerings. I joyously give, knowing I always have enough to share and to spare. And then we'll just close our eyes one more time and think about all of those who are remembered and honored in this basket today, who may need comfort and love, healing. And we pray together, knowing that they will be well, they will be joyful and happy. And this is how we see them, complete and healthy. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you. And now I'm very happy to introduce Linda Abar, doing something different today because she's interweaving her beautiful, beautiful music and beautiful voice in with a message for us today. So let's give her a warm welcome.
Yeah, this is a little strange, but it's okay. I'm giving sort of 3 little talks in one. The first thing I want to do is talk about fellowship a bit, because my life has been profoundly affected by fellowship. And of course, you may be all verklempt with that last bit of people who need comfort. Fellowship has always been a place of comfort for me. I can remember when I first started singing, I was in a rough spot. And I would say to my in-laws, I'd say, yeah, I gotta get home to go to fellowship and they really love me there. They love my singing. And my brother-in-law was like, oh yeah, you really like the ego stroke, don't you? And I'm like, no. People appreciating me is nourishment for my soul. And I understand that now. And I understand so many other things because I've been here. And fellowship to me, I've run in a lot of circles. I've never been a person who was really in one place or one group of people. And I can't remember your exact mission statement, but it has something to do with learning, loving, and growing, something like that. And that is exactly what you do. And there's not many people who can clearly, or organizations or whatever, who can state who they are and then live up to what they state. And that to me is what fellowship does. So you all are like my home group. Out of all the churches that I've sung to, you're my home group. And one of the things I thought of is like, you know, you're nomadic, but you take your hearts with you wherever you go. And to me, I've watched each person's heart grow. I've watched fellowship's heart grow, and I have grown. And that to me is like one of my core values. Is like, I want to grow. I want to enjoy being here and contribute. And I feel like being a part of this has been paramount to that. Now, next little part of my story is why I was here. And that is because of a very influential fellowshipian member who has moved on, Jim Noble. He was my realtor when I bought my house that I'm still living in 1994. And he, well, y'all know how he was. I mean, he was amazing, and he was like an angel who hadn't left his body yet, and he would just collect people, you know, and so I was a musician, and so he latched right onto me and got me singing at fellowship right away, and got me into New Thought Things, my first Science of Mind group and everything. So I just want to honor him, and there's a list of people that I wanted to mention, and I couldn't remember some of their names, I saw their faces, but to just take a moment to honor all of the people who have made this what it is. Excuse my emotion. Now, one of the things Jim did is he would put on these huge fellowship celebrations, and there would be music, and he would pull in people from everywhere and create bands, and one of those times, I remember I sang When I Am Healed, the Max Rang song, as a solo. And it was one of the first times, well, the first time I could remember this singing, where something greater than me took over me. And that's all I have to say. You guys grown, you understand. The other thing that I realized while I was singing that song is that to heal isn't selfish. I grew up to be a perfect codependent, working on it. And when I am healed, I am not healed alone, for I would share my healing with the world. And it was like this, thing. And of course there's layers to that, and I've had to keep taking them off and letting them go. But that was a moment where it was like, it's okay for me to heal because it's going to help other people. It's not going to be like, look at me, I'm healed. That's not how that goes. So now we're going to sing that song. And I just invite you to have whatever experience that you are going to have with the song, with what I've said. So please stand. I don't know what number it is. I'll have to.
48.
48, thank you, Lord. That's my sidekick. So the second part of my talk is about nature and what, and I'm singing to the Fellowship Tabernacle Choir, most of the people that hang out here or have ever hung out here are already into nature. So one of the things that's important to me is that I have all these spiritual practices that I do, but sometimes I need to be reminded that I'm doing them in order to get all the juice out of it. Because I think when you've been doing spirituality for a long time, we can take it for granted. And then sometimes it's taken away and then we're like, oh, that's missing. For sure. So I'm hoping that my sharing will remind you of something you're already doing, remind you of something that fell off the plate, or a tweak. We'll see. So when I was young, I grew up outside of Chicago and then in Farmington Hills, which is a suburb of Detroit. I was lucky that there were little patches of nature where I lived, and I was always going to them. Now, I'm an introvert, and I'm a 4 in the Enneagram, and I've got planets in Taurus. So yes, this is sort of my thing, but I also feel that as an introvert, like yes, I get refueled by nature, but it's also important for me to go out and be with people. But I think also an extrovert also needs to learn how to spend time alone. And I also notice that when I do things with nature, it's more helpful that I'm alone, because then I can just be present with myself and with the nature and not distracted by other people's energy. I think that I know for me, because I'm empathic, I do it without knowing, like I just change things. I want to pay attention to the person that I'm with, and I don't like splitting my attention. So sometimes I enjoy being out in nature with other people, but most of the time I'm by myself. And the whole thing, to me, what nature does for me is it grabs my attention and it gets me in the moment. So even if it's just a cardinal jumps on my bird feeder, or I'm walking in the woods and all of a sudden I see the deer, it snaps me into the moment, even if I'm up in my head, which is, unfortunately, I go there a lot, especially when I'm busy. It just snaps me back into the moment. And there's this little thing I wrote. When you experience what's in front of you, you can be in the moment. And when you can be in the moment, you can have peace. So letting yourself look out the window, even if you can't be outside, just see something. And the whole thing about meditation and mindfulness, it's about your senses. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? And there's all kinds of research. I don't read books like that very well about nature and forest bathing and all of that. And I think that I'm glad that somebody figured that out. And I'm mostly just speaking from my own experience. I told you the story about the first time I felt that thing take over me when I was singing. There were times in my life that I had no faith, I had no belief. I was just like, I've had a rough go with people. And so at that point in my youth and early adulthood, I gave up on a higher power as well. But I went to a trip in the UP, and I was running around, and back then it was really wild. And the waterfalls, I had all these spiritual experiences that I wasn't like, the nature was talking to me. Like I was hearing things in my head, like realizations about life by sitting by a waterfall. And that changed me. And then I remember going to Chicago with some other kids from the music school and being on the beach and something about the water and staring at a rock, and all of a sudden I didn't exist anymore. I was in that state of nothingness. And to me, that is what nature does for me. And now, on a daily basis, it's just become a part of my life. And I feel like I'm better for it. And when I think about, well, what if I took it out? I don't even want to try that experiment. And to put in the heart-to-heart thing, I can't connect with other people, or no, okay. I can connect with other people at the level at which I'm connected with myself. And nature is a way that I can connect with myself and rejuvenate myself, and I still sometimes honestly feel guilty about how much time I need to spend alone in order to be able to be around people and not be like, "Rrr." And everybody's got their, and it depends on, you know, how much I'm giving out. You know, I'm a giver as a profession, and so if I've got a huge student load, you know, Fridays I don't talk to anybody. You know, I sit in my hammock and I stare at the sky. I go for a long walk. Well, I go for a long walk in the woods every day anyway with my dog and some others, dogs. Some of them are men. I'm joking. I've had to train them. Anyway, so the nature, you know, and I realized too when I was thinking about, and because, I mean, I've been talking out in my head for a month. You know, I've been walking the woods, so what do I do here? What do I tell them? And I realized that, I mean, I have legitimate anxiety. I've seen it on my chart, you know, when the doc wasn't looking and I peek over, it's like anxiety disorder. There's a word for that. So there's something about, you know, I wake up an unrecovered anxious person. You know, the world is difficult. And so my medicine is to go walk in the woods every morning, and then when I come home, I'm in this flow, and things are just happening, and that's because I'm with myself, and I can come from that place, and the more I go, it's like going to the well to drink, go to the well to drink, and you start having a reservoir of presence, and a reservoir of love, because nature loves me, and I love nature back. And that seems like some woo-woo stuff. And in a different space, I would roll my eyes at myself. Sometimes I'm like, did you really write this song? It's like, no, I didn't really write this song, but I'll just sing it anyway, even though it seems like cheesy to me. But I'm realizing that when I'm in my head, that's where my fear is. I'm not afraid here. You know, even though I've been hurt by people, but that hurt lives here, and here, then I'm okay. And so I can't love somebody with my head. You know, like you go head to head. You know, when you can be heart to heart, then that might work. Now that being said, I have to say some people's hearts aren't ready, or they're not in that space, and I have learned to let those things go. I know that Marianne Williamson says that the only thing that's missing in a relationship is what you haven't brought. I tried that, and in my experience, you know, you can't move a brick wall without having to use a sledgehammer, and I'd rather not. So I'd rather find something soft. And to me, trees are soft. Another thing about nature is that it's beautiful. I mean, even in things rotting, even in fallen down trees, there's beauty. And I'm not pulling up the quotes. I mean, you can go Google them or whatever. There's so many different Native American quotes that talk about beauty. Notice the beauty, be in beauty. And John O'Donohue, who's already been mentioned, he goes on and on about how beauty is a healing force. And beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And if we are too busy up here, we can't even see. I have noticed that as my anxiety goes down, everything's more beautiful. It's like, oh my God, look at, you know, and I know I'm looking at the same, even my home, you know, because like I said, I'm a 4 in the Enneagram, my house is like art everywhere, but it looks different to me when I'm centered. So, I think y'all probably have your nature places that you like to go. Sometimes I get on my phone and I just zoom it out and I'm like, where's the green space? You know, and to me, the places where I go are different every day because the planet's changing, the seasons are changing, and it's just lovely. So I hope I've motivated you for that. Now, I'm gonna do a little meditation. and then I'm going to sing you a song. I'm going to do the meditation from over here, so I'm ready. So why don't you all get settled? So, start with your breathing. Inhale through your nose. Feel how it expands your body. And then how you relax on the exhale. If there's any wee bits of tension in your body, go ahead and breathe right into that spot. As if you're a little trash collector collecting whatever tension's there, and then let it exhale out. Now I want you to imagine your favorite personal nature spot, whether it be under a tree, by a big lake, or a pond, or a river, a field, a mountain, or the ocean. If you're standing, feel what's under your feet. If you're sitting, let yourself really settle in. What sounds are you hearing? Are there birds, waves, the river gurgling, the wind rustling the leaves of the trees, or the blades of grass? Let your feet or your hands touch something. Feel the texture. Feel how it soothes you. Look around some more. There might be some human things in your space, some sounds, some things that you can look at. I want you to zone your mind, your ears, your sight, your senses into only what's coming from the natural world, as if any human constructs are just fading in the background, till all you hear is nothing but nature. I am sitting under the tree, hands holding roots. I am sitting here, listening till all I hear is nothing but nature. I am standing by the stream, quieting my soul. strong beneath my feet. I am sitting under the tree, balm on the earth. I will sit here breathing till I am clear. I am nothing but nature. We are nothing but nature. This nothingness is my nature. Yeah, has that effect on me too. I suggest we rub our hands on our legs, because even singing that song takes me way far away. And I have more to talk about in another song. Okay, so I've always sort of gotten the whole tree hugger, dirt worshiper thing, but then I had my first real hug with a tree. I was like, oh, now I get it. So I'm gonna try not to get verklempt. Some of you know I went through a really, really rough patch about 3 years ago. I was betrayed and left by someone very, very important to me. And it was just really hard because it had happened before, and I thought, oh, this person would never do that, but that was different. And also, I think when you go through a divorce, it's almost like you're contagious, like you've got COVID, and no one really wants to be around you because you're grieving so hard that it's just hard to be around. And I understand that. I understood that then, and I understand it better now. So at the time, I was really low on comfort. So I was walking at this park, and I decided to hug this pine tree. Now they're interesting because they're rather bumpy and sappy. But I just started crying, and then I felt comforted by the tree. I was like, wow, there must be something to this. So I started experimenting with it, and I found up north, I was helping my parents while they still had the place up there, and there were all these birch trees, and so I tried a birch tree, and I was like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. My inflammation in my body went down 75% within like 30 seconds to a minute. That and birch trees they're slimmer, like you can get your whole self around them, and they're smooth so they don't scratch your cheek. And so I just kept going back to this one tree, and it was kind of fun because it had a vine on it that I had to like get, inside the vine. And I've found since then, when I've looked for trees of that nature here, that those vines tend to hang out there. So I think it's fascinating with trees. Well, I'll get to that in a second. So the hugging. So I started hugging trees, and I would even get to a point where I would see the tree coming, like I'd be almost there, and it's like when you see someone you love, and I would speed up and get to it and feel that love reciprocating. And I just went with it because I needed it, and that was that. So then the pandemic came, and that really lessened my ability to get a hug. And I used to be a swimmer. Well, I'm still a swimmer, but the pandemic kind of mixed that out, and I had met these men and their dogs in the woods, and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be my only human contact. I like their dogs, maybe, and my dog that's a whole nother story, him coming to me and the blessing that was, and he had really bad PTSD, my dog did, and he got over it, and I thought, well, maybe I'll get over it too, and maybe this pack, I'm gonna join this pack, and maybe they'll retrain me to trust people. Who knew? So I started walking every day, and they took me into a new part of the woods that I hadn't been going into. And I found several friends there, tree friends. One was an oak tree, and I wish I had the pictures. I'm sorry, I'm not tech savvy. This oak tree, huge, split right down the middle by lightning. And so that was the first one I started hugging there. And I would look up at that and I'm like, we're split in half, but we're still standing. And so every day I have a little chat with that tree. Then the other things I do, I found that, because I have a lot of physical things going on and I need to do yoga and all this stuff, right? So I found that logs work really good foam rollers. And so you can lay on a log, put your arms out, open up your chest, open up your heart, put your feet together and splay your knees out and stare at the canopy. And it's like a whole nother way of seeing the trees, being with the trees, seeing the sky. And I also noticed that my energy would shift and still shifts significantly after doing that for a few moments. Then I found these twin oaks, checking my time, that they were hanging out together, and the one I sit and it's got this perfect little crook nook for me to sit in, and the other one I go like this with my hands so that I don't kill my cheek, but it's got these little notches that I can grab onto, and I can just lean on the tree and enjoy the tree. And those trees have helped me make decisions. When I was trying to decide about vaccines and I was like, what do I do? And the answer would pop into my head. And then I read, there's several books, I'm not telling you what the books say because you can read the books. And there's podcasts too that tell you all about trees and how they, hang out together and their root systems and their fungi, and they take care of each other. But they also benefit from our exhales. They soak up our carbon dioxide or whatever it is that comes out of us. And I talked to them one day, I'm like, so how is this for you? Because I'm digging it. And I got that this is a symbiotic relationship. And that I love them and they love me back. And they like having visitors, respectful visitors. And the forest is like, I have relationships with individual trees. Like there's people in this room that I have varying degrees of relationship with, but I also love fellowship as a whole. I love humanity as a whole, most of the time. And that's how the trees are. And I've noticed too that the trees, and they talk about how they share resources interspecially. I just made that word up. And I see trees where there's, a big tree and then a little tree sort of like curving around it and their roots are hanging out together. And I just think that's so cool. And there's a lot to learn from just observing how they work and that they protect their young, they protect their old, they feed, they put food into a stump of a fallen tree. And all of these things, it's like, duh, of course, it's just nature, but I feel like there's so much that we can glean from how a forest does its thing, and plants, and all of those things. Not just sharing energy, but getting inspiration about how to be a better species. I see us as just another species on this planet, and we're supposed to be with everything else, not controlling it. That's just my opinion. So, Celtic Wisdom of Trees, Hidden Life of Trees. Another book that is a lot like this is called Finding the Mother Tree. And there is sorry, I don't remember who the author is, but there's podcasts too, where people are interviewed and, you know, you can just listen and see what you think about the science of it all. I'm just telling you my experience. I think that might be all I want to say about trees. Here's one little thing I wrote. Trees may be hard, but they are a safe place to soften. They won't pull out of a hug. They'll never judge you. And I really truly believe, because now I do hug some of my friends at the woods. And there's a dog, actually, this golden retriever. He is amazing. And I just hug him and hold him, and he just wags his tail. And just the energy exchange with that particular dog is, my dog doesn't really like to be hovered over. So he's got other attributes. But the trees, I think hugging trees has made me a better human hugger. Because to be held is a beautiful thing. To be held and yet free. And I didn't come up with that, that's Glennon Doyle. But anyway, all right, so I hope that was helpful and inspiring. And I have another song for you that I wrote called The Wisdom of Trees. Embracing seasons, birth and death, creating and letting go. Nothing's wasted when we leave behind, feeds all growth. It's the wisdom of trees. It's the wisdom of Community once mine is yours. We will weather this living together. Roots combined, like fingers entwined. Hand in hand, we will handle this moment. It's the wisdom of trees. It's the wisdom of trees. Rooting down while reaching up. Earth and heaven are one. Balancing our yin and yang.
you were talking about your tree friends, how many are going to go out this week and have a conversation with a tree? I know. That was beautiful. So I want to thank everyone for being here. Thank you, virtual watchers. Thank you, Corey, for your beautiful music. And thank you, Linda. That was just beautiful. Beautiful message, beautiful reminders. I have a few announcements before we get into our Peace Circle. First of all, I want to remind everyone to please stay after service if you are able to take part in our membership meeting. On Wednesday of this coming week, the 21st, we're having a viewing of this new documentary that's just being released that night called Gratitude Revealed. If you're interested, please arrive at the fellowship office by 6:45. We have a sound bath with Julie Ross on Wednesday evening at 6:30, the 28th. And our special potluck Sunday celebration of our 39th anniversary. Gosh, I haven't said that 10 times today. I've got to get going here. Celebrating our 39th anniversary. So next Sunday, please join us and we'll have our first potluck since February of 2020. Yes, looking forward to that. And also on September 27th, which is a Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock, we're starting our next Fellowship School of Ministry term. And anybody who's interested in the topic is welcome. I've got some flyers here if you are interested. The title of this term's course is Death and Dying When the Human Experience Comes to an End. And it'll be an 8-week curriculum. So we've got plenty of these if you'd like to pick one up. So again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for bringing your beautiful hearts and beautiful energy here to share. Thank you for sharing from your heart. And thank you, Sue Quinn, for your heart-to-heart theme and for felting all of our beautiful hearts that we've got pinned to our hearts. Thanks so much. So it's time to get in our Peace Circle. Please join us and we'll do our closing blessing.